Howdy friends, and welcome to Wolf Woodworking Creations. I'm Steve, and in lieu of my normal intro to my video, I decided, you'll see. Enjoy.
Good evening to all. So I went into work today and I wasn't supposed to be at work today, and I just had a hard morning and I was back there working, and the girls come and got me and told me I had a surprise on my desk. So I went to my desk and this was on my desk. My jewelry box that Steve Huber has been making for me, and I have been watching him from beginning to end. And it has these beautiful drawers for my rings. And when I opened up this top one, Steve, I didn't even know it was in there. There's money in there. It is absolutely beautiful. He made my day and made me cry. In times like these, good people. Steve, I really appreciate this. You don't know how much I'll treasure this. It is beautiful. I mean, he done an excellent job. And then on the back, if you can see, there's his stamp. Just done a beautiful, beautiful job. So I wanted to let Steve know how much I appreciate it. And air hugs to you, Steve, until I can give you a real hug at work. I promise you, I owe you one. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
One day I was at work, and a coworker was regaling me with tales of her jewelry box woes. And the woe was she didn't have any. So I figured this would be a perfect opportunity for me to learn some different skills in woodworking, and in the process make a jewelry box for this nice person that I work with. So I wanted the jewelry box to be unique, and it's the first unique feature you see is it's a curved front door. And in order to make that front door, I cut down some walnut into 2-inch wide by 13-inch long and 5/8 inch strips with a bevel on each end in opposite directions. So it kind of looks almost like the bottom half of a pyramid. And then when you put those 7.5-degree angles all together and you fold them up like so, you get a curved door. So in order to get the curved door to stay, of course, you need some glue. So I glued up the door, and then I didn't have any clamps or any way that I could think of that you could use to clamp the door together until the glue dried. So I just used some painter's tape, stretched it across the opening, pulled kind of tight, and squeezed, and there we go. We had a drawer. And then came the sanding. Oh, the sanding. There was so much sanding. How much sanding? A lot of sanding. Still sanding. Oh, maybe we're done. Are we done? It looks pretty good. I think so. Nice curve to it. It's not a complete 180, but oh man, more sanding. So I decided to take a break from all the sanding and make some drawer bottoms, because a drawer without a bottom is just a box. Also milled down some more walnut to make the sides and the top and the bottom. These are about a 1/2 inch wide by 12 inches long and 8 inches deep. Of course, the top and the bottom are just a little bit shorter. I think they're about 8 inches or 7.5, I believe. And I never really used this clamp very much, but it actually turned out to be a dream. Just needed to loosen it up a little bit, so I can get those mitered corners just perfect. And they did turn out very, very well. Man, we're squaring it up just to make sure, and we're all square. And while that was drying, I decided to tackle the curved door. Now I had to cut it down to make it fit the dimensions of the box. And that's what I'm doing right here. Now, once the box was dried and the front door was cut, it was time to, well, it's not sanding. I needed to put a little chamfer on the edge of the door so it would seat flush when it shut to the box. And of course, any drawer or door needs a top and a bottom. And I definitely have some work to do when it comes to gluing up. It just goes all over the place. But like we always said in the military when we were soldering, the bigger the glob, the better the job. And that holds true with glue. And now comes the bane of my existence, was trying to figure out how to do box joints. Turns out they're very simple, but I just couldn't wrap my little brain around how to get them done. So I did a test cut on several pieces and made a drawer without a bottom to it. I just needed to make sure that it would fit inside perfectly. So there is the test piece, and it fits perfectly. So I cut the rest of them, glued them up, made sure they were square, and then set them off to dry. And then while they were drying, I used a little bit of walnut and glue smeared together to make a kind of walnut paste to fill in any of the gaps. So of course, when you have more gaps, there's more sanding. So here I am making sure that these drawer bottoms will fit, and obviously they will. But I just needed to make sure, so I left a little bit extra on the back of the drawers just in case. And I decided to leave that there because it actually helped putting the back on and giving it a reference piece. And of course you had to mark where the drawer slides are going to go. And I used just some scrap bits of walnut glued onto the sides of the box to make the drawer slides. And they worked out very well. And then it comes time to put the bottoms on the drawers. And so you may wonder why I'm using a piece of painter's tape on the bottom of the box for the drawer. Well, that way it's very easy to keep it aligned in the front, because that's not going to be the front of the drawer. There will actually be a false drawer front put on. But once you get them glued up and you put the glue all around the little box, and all you have to do is take that bottom and flip it up, and you have yourself a drawer. And some cards that I had to keep the positions of the false drawer fronts equidistant. And I wasn't sure. I didn't want to use any screws on these drawers, so I tried something different. Basically, put a lot of glue on the front of the drawer, push it in, and pray to God it dries and stays perfect. Luckily, it did. I am happy to report, although I did get some glue on some of the cards, as you can see, but they're kind of laminated, so they pop right out after a little bit of persuasion. Now it is time to see if these drawers actually worked and the front stayed on them. So far, looks like they did. little glue squeeze out that kept the drawers together, but well, nothing a little sanding won't take care of. Speaking of sanding, my my oscillating spindle sander just didn't do right for it, so I tried a plane, and then I tried my sander, and then that actually worked. And now comes the part that every woodworker looks forward to. That is right. Putting on the oil. Uh, Makes that grain just come alive. And I know you see some sapwood there, but I like to leave the sapwood in. It gives it a little character. And of course, with having a curved door in the front, you need a good stable base that also has a curve on it. And the top also has a curve on it. So it all come together. And then there's the sanding. More sanding. This could have been a sanding video if I wanted it to be. So, well, can't have a jewelry box without any feet. Although it can't go anywhere because it doesn't have any legs. Interesting. This just shows you how close I came with the screw that hold on the bottom. And I'm using a really cool spring-loaded punch that makes a nice hole that I can start the screw and keep it going. So this is how I decided to put on the bottom. I just put a couple screws in, just enough that they protruded just a little. Set the box on top of the bottom and give it a little push. It gives you some indentations that will actually hold it when you flip it upside down. And then all you have to do is screw it in. And since the top is the thing that is going to show, I couldn't use screws to put it down. So I used some glue. And I just thought that I could have used screws if I would have come up from the inside of the cabinet instead. But anyway, this worked just as well. But only time will tell to see if it pops off. I highly doubt it. I used a lot of glue. Remember what I said? The bigger the glob, the better the job. And in order to keep it there, I put some clamping pressure on it. And you could see that the drawers actually have some inserts in them. That's that neon green. I thought it was a great contrast in color for the inside of the jewelry box drawers. Unfortunately, when I was videoing me making the inserts to put inside the drawers, I thought I had the camera recording, and it was actually off. But prior to that, I had about 40 minutes of video of me sanding. Just forgot to turn the darn thing off, and it just kept running. So I apologize for not showing you the drawers, but it's very simple. I used some old styrofoam that I had left over from buying several tools, and I just cut that down to size, put that in the drawer, and then covered the outside of that foam with some fleece to give the rings and earrings and other types of jewelry a nice little soft bed to sleep in. And then in order to get the drawers open, you must have handles because the back is not open. Something that I learned while I was making this is that sometimes in order to get the drawers out, you gotta have You have to have a handle to pull them out. And then so I had to sand down those rough edges. And I'm using a technique that I have learned by watching other YouTubers do their glue ups. So I spaced them using a straight edge to get them nice and aligned in the center. And then I put some woodworking glue on the outside and then used just a dab of CA glue with some activator just to hold it there like a clamp until the glue dries. And this works excellent once the glue is dried. Prior to that, they may fall off if you put a little pressure on them. Don't ask me how I found out. And there they are, all the drawer handles. It's starting to look like something now. Ah, doesn't that look beautiful? Love the drawer fronts. Got to get some glue off of there. A little bit of squeeze out. Unfortunately, there was a little bit too much squeeze out, and it actually squeezed out some of the CA glue. So luckily it was already pre-finished, so it wasn't that hard to get the CA glue off. As you can see, I'm using one of my brand new chisels, which really needs to be sharpened. And then the pièce de résistance. Have to put a pull for the front door.